Hello, everyone. Welcome to Progress Junior Golf. My name's Steve Jackson, and this is Aaron Cox.
G'day, guys. Good evening, Steve.
How are we this evening?
Yeah, I'm very good, mate. Very good. After a
Good.
long day of work, but no, we're very good.
Good. Right. Now, this is Progress Junior Golf. This is the fifth edition of the year, the 77th episode that we've ever done. So we're just about getting to the territory now of the kind of score that you make on the golf course over 18 holes and the kind of score I make over 9 holes. Is that fair comment?
Oh, a little bit rough, but okay, I'll take it.
What, you think you could get lower than 67 then, do you?
67. I thought you said 77.
Oh, no, 67. So you're okay. So
67. All right. That's
you'd settle for a 67. Okay, I'd settle for a 77 every day of the week. But anyway, right now, today's show, we're going to be talking about girls' golf. Now, not for the first time, we've selected a really big subject to cover. And of course, it's something that gets mentioned pretty much with every podcast that we've done. But we're going to look at it in a lot more detail this evening. And we're going to look at it, well, with some help as well, because we've got award-winning professional Hannah Crump, England Golf Participation and Development Coach of the Year in 2025. She also won the England Golf Women's and Girls Trailblazer Award back in 2022. That was a good year, that was, wasn't it, Aaron? One or two people won some awards that year, didn't they?
Yes, they did, Steve. Yeah. So I know how Hannah feels. I won that same award in 2022.
Good. Right, now, also we are going to have, and now obviously Aaron's a coach, junior coach as well, taught numerous girls and boys over the years, and I've run a lot of junior golf events as well, which have included obviously several girls, and including a player by the name of Natasha Ainsley Thomas, who now runs a company in America that is working to get more women into the game of golf. Now, I chatted with Natasha early this week, so we'll hear about her journey into the game, the experiences that she had as a girl golfer in the UK, and then going to college in the US, and of course what she's doing now as well. So both Aaron and myself will get our thoughts on what Natasha and also Hannah have to say as well. But we have to say, this is quite a big but. Both you and me and Aaron have got something in common, and that is that we're both male and we're both old. So we need yes. One of them is slightly more older than the other, but both of us fall into that category. So we need a little bit of help here. We need a girl's perspective, and we also need a younger girl's perspective as well.
Young girl's perspective.
And I'm delighted to say that co-hosting this podcast with us, we've got a junior golfer by the name of Tesney Burrows. So we're going to welcome Tesney onto the show now. Here Tesney is. Good evening, Tesney. How are you?
Good evening. Not too bad. How are you?
Lovely to have you on the show. Lovely to have you co-hosting the podcast with both myself and Aaron as well. Just a little bit of background on Tesney. She's working with the Founder Series over this year, going to be hoping to try and get herself a little bit more experience in the media industry. So I'm delighted to say that she's been doing some work with me at some of the events that we've been covering this year. And this is a perfect opportunity to, co-host a podcast with myself and Aaron, and also show us exactly what you know about junior golf. So just a little bit of background then. How did you get into the game of golf then, Tesney?
Well, I was born out in Australia, and I just started out there.
Yes! I was waiting for that.
What can I say?
You didn't know this. 2 Aussies on the show.
Yes, 2 Aussies. So yeah, I started out in Australia when I was about 9, and brought it over to the UK, and just on and off here and there. But I'm now really into it. I go to college to learn golf and do sports science. So really enjoying it. Really want to progress in it.
Right. That's the end of the that's the end of the podcast, because I'm not going on this podcast with 2 Australians on here, you know. So, but anyway, there you go. Right. Well, for the sake of it, I'll continue just because I'm such a good guy and everything like that. But, right. Okay. Let's get into this then, because obviously we're going to be talking about a really big subject here. Let's get Natasha Ainsley Thomas on first of all. Let's hear about her background. It's someone I've been known for 10 years or so, but it's just fascinating to hear how she started out. This is Natasha, and this is her story about how she got into junior golf.
I started playing golf when I was about 12, and that was all because of my dad. And that was like our thing that we did as a family on the weekends. I'm an only child, so it was either sit in the cart or play. When I got dragged out there onto the course, I ended up loving it. And being quite good at it and enjoying being good at it. So no, it became a family activity that, I grew up playing.
And what was the perception of it from your friends? The fact that you were playing golf as a girl. What did they say?
Yeah, I mean, my first club was Silverstone Golf Club, and the junior section there was all boys. So I was the only girl. And my friends were a bit like, oh, okay, interesting. Like, why are you doing that? Because netball was my other sport, and I was good at that. There was lots of opportunity to play in that, so that seemed like the natural path. But I think, I mean, everyone was generally supportive, but they were just kind of like, why? Why are you doing that? It's not the typical thing that girls would do.
Did you make friends by doing that? I mean, as in other girls by through the golf industry?
Yeah, definitely. Because there was not many of us in when I first started. You naturally kind of gravitated towards them. And I actually ended up moving clubs to Whittlebury Country Club or Golf Club to because they had a larger junior section that had more girls in it that I had met at other tournaments or games or matches and was like, I want to be friends with them. Like I want that community aspect so bad. But it was when I got there, they kind of fizzled out a little bit, and I still ended up the only girl in a boys' junior team.
Is that something which is common in your experience, whereby you tend to be one or very few girls within a junior section at a club?
Yeah, I've seen that a lot. Not so much now, but as I was coming through the ranks, it was usually around, 14 to 16, the girls kind of fizzle out. And if new girls aren't coming in, and it's really up to, I think anyway, the golf course to be providing like a great environment to encourage girls to want to be involved with it, because the experience for golf for girls are so different for boys. Like boys are happy to just hit balls for an hour and try trick shots and all that kind of stuff. For girls, I think it's a lot more sociable and it needs to be fun. It doesn't need to be so much pressure on them. Otherwise, they do tend to kind of get out of it because I actually gave up at 14 for a year because I was like, this isn't fun anymore. I was getting to the point where I was good enough that I should be shooting better scores, and it got really intense. And I was like, this is not fun. And I gave up for a year, and just coming back, obviously. But yeah, it's a very different dynamic, I think.
So that's Natasha there talking about her experience of getting into golf. So Tesni, is that something which you can relate to, how she got into it and the experience that she had when she was growing up?
Oh, 100%. I mean, even so now, my golf club, we have no juniors. There's no female golfers nearby. It's always been a struggle for me to find female golfers and girl golfers to play with, as it's usually people who are middle-aged, like, well, not middle-aged, but like 50-year-olds who I usually play with. So throughout my years of golf, it's been difficult to find girls to like socialize with.
And your reaction there, Aaron, is one which isn't a surprise, unfortunately, is it? It's common, isn't it? Unfortunately.
Yeah, it is.
It's a shame to hear. Like it's especially a shame to hear, especially like Tesney being 17, and on the brink of obviously adulthood, but those formative years, it just shows you that this country lacks direction and path in golf for girls from the age of 13 onwards. If you've got your very limited number of golf elite players and elite girls, but for the size of this country and the amount of like kids in this country, which is 3 times the size of Australia. I find it so hard to listen to that, and it's unfortunate for Tesney's in that situation. Whereas, like at the golf club I'm at with Blackwell at Blackwell Grange, I've got over 130 junior members, but I've got in my academy, I've got nearly or probably just over 30 girls in my academy, and I've got about 4 to 6 elite girls that are elite in the ways of like low handicap players and playing junior opens, playing tour events, playing county. So it's hard to listen to, Steve. It really is, because it really ticks me off.
And Tesney, we're going to hear a little bit more from Tasha there about, she mentioned about she got to the stage whereby she gave up golf. Is that something whereby that's crossed your mind as well?
Oh, 100%. I mean, even I started at 9, it was very on and off. I never sort of continued with it until about a year and a half ago. I got serious with golf and I started practicing and all that, but still it's a bit different if you don't have sort of girls your own age wanting to play golf as well.
Tesney, sorry, Steve, can I ask, I need to ask obviously a question of Tesney. So the club you're at, you said you got into it about 9, but then you've had almost like, well, I mean, obviously COVID hit, because obviously you and I actually came to England at very, very similar times that I found that amongst us talking, but we had a couple of years of COVID. So from age about 13, I think 13, 14. So the last three and a half years, you've been back in the game.
Yeah. So during COVID and since about 2018, it's been very on and off, but after COVID, it got through and it's actually been really good. But it's a bit different with all, like, I think COVID really hit when like just girls didn't want to motivated to play golf, especially after.
And there was no, and so that means that there was no real directional path from your club to try and increase numbers, increase a social atmosphere for girls. There was nothing. So nothing was really in the pipeline for their future to get girls into golf, to create a fun kind of atmosphere and do something outside the box.
Yeah, I mean, my past golf club, it had a golf academy, like I had a junior academy, but it was full of guys who were probably about 3 years older than me. So when I was about 13, I was surrounded by like kids 16, and I didn't really know what to do. Yeah, so I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really get along with anyone, but yeah.
Okay, let's hear from Natasha then, because I mentioned there, she mentioned the fact that she'd left the sport. Now, obviously, she came back. So let's find out the reasons why she did come back, and then obviously we'll talk a little bit more about some of her experiences as well.
I gave up one, financials. I was at that age more interested in netball than I was golf, and netball was cheaper. I think as well, I was missing out on a lot of like social things at that age that were more fun than golf, and not realizing my priorities. And then I think as well, like the pressure of, I love my dad to pieces. I say this with the most kindness, but he did put a lot of pressure on me because he wanted the best for me. And I think that dynamic, when parents get really excited for their kids, it comes across not in the most positive way for the child. So it got to the point where we were having arguments at home about my performance on the golf course, or I was putting pressure on myself to do really well because I didn't want to disappoint him, instead of doing it for myself. And it just got to enough was enough. It wasn't, a positive thing for our family anymore. So that was one of the reasons that I stepped away from it. And then it was actually the Rio Olympics. I remember watching it with my parents, and they were talking about how golf was going to be in the Olympics next year. And I was like, oh my God, that's in 4 years. And I remember watching the opening ceremony and was like, this is amazing. Like, I would love to be a part of something like that. And my dad was like, well, if, you go practice and you get back into it, that could be something you could do. You have 4 years, you're good enough. And I was like, okay, all right. And that's honestly what got me back into it, seeing like the opportunity and the potential that of where I could go within the sport. And then as well, we as soon as we started talking about, okay, well, how do I get to that level? We talked about like going to America, and that was like, wow, like I could go to another country and play this. So it was really like the potential opportunities that got me back into the sport. And yeah, here I am today in North.
So that's Natasha obviously talking about how she got back into the game. What was your experience then, Tesni, about why you decided to get back into it? Because obviously you had thoughts about you might want to drop out and did drop out a little bit. Why did you get back into it?
Well, I agree with Natasha. I had pressure from my mum. My mum started golf when I started. It was all just a bit of fun. But both my parents really want the best for me, and they want me to succeed in golf, like completely. They want me to go into it, into the sport, either play professionally in industry. So I do relate to Natasha when she says that there is a pressure amongst parents. So that is one of the reasons I would go.
Well, the point I was going to make, I'll come to you in a second, Aaron, is the fact obviously I knew Natasha when she came back. I didn't actually know her before, so I wasn't aware of the situation that she had before, whereby she'd given up. When she came back, it was someone who was completely fresh in the sense of she just loved it, and there was no sense of the difficulties that she'd been through. Are you in that same stage now, Tesni, whereby almost those difficult years, you've kind of put them behind you and now you really are falling in love with the game?
Oh, 100%. I mean, there is some still difficult patches here and there, but that's golf for you. But it's just, yeah, I'm just loving it, to be honest. Even if there isn't any junior girls, I I still love the game no matter what.
So, question for you then, Aaron. Obviously, presumably you've seen that scenario where you've seen not just girls, but we are talking about girls today, but girls who've dropped out of the sport for various reasons, and then have initiated to you and said, "Actually, I'd like to come back." What do you do with them to try and almost make them forget what had happened previously and get them to love the game again?
You kind of have to make them continue to look forward, whether it's in our own lives or trying to work with kids and girls that in the game of golf is continually always look forward. When you're playing, we tell them, look, that shot's gone. You can't look back. You can't do it again. Same with life. So I've had a few players do that. I've had a couple of girls that have done that and gone away and had a year or so off, and then all of a sudden, mum and dad have reached back out and said, "Oh, hey, don't want to come back." I was like, "Oh, okay, great, like fantastic." That's how you've always got to react as a coach. Is like, yes, open door policy. Come back whenever you like, and I always say that to parents and kids. But it's very interesting things that Natasha and also yourself, Tesni, that you mentioned about the pressure, and it's quite incredible that last month, Steve, we spoke and we had this podcast on parenting and parents with kids in golf, and what pressures the parents are putting on kids these days to not only succeed, try to have fun. The main message that a lot of parents try and get through to their kids, but at the same time, that comes across with pressure, and very, very evident with my 20 years of being a golf professional, both in Australia and over here now for 7 years, is that the kids lose the want to play golf because of from parents wanting them to have so much fun, do well. It's just overwhelming. And unfortunately, with girls, because they're a bit more sensitive, and it gets to them a little bit easier than boys, and it just pushes them across the line a lot earlier, which then is why they move out of golf. And there's nothing around Tesni's age, that 15, 16, 17. There's no real specific, golfing journey. And adolescents, almost adult women, can do to either get back in the game or continue the game or go to that next level of the game to then push on to college golf and professional golf, or being a golf professional, with doing a traineeship or your PGA, or working within the golf industry.
Right, let's talk about coaching. We are going to hear from Natasha about how she did coaching when she was a junior. Tesney, though, first of all, just explain what coaching you had when you first started out when you were 9, 10, 11, 12, and what coaching, how did that form at that time?
Well, when I was about 9, it's a bit hard to remember, to be honest, but as from what I heard, we only did it for fun at that point. It wasn't much technical skills. It was just a bit of fun to get me going. But it really was just sort of one of my high school teachers that helped me get across. It's one of those where they bring schools over and you like coaching golf and stuff. That's what got me into it. And throughout like the years, I've had various coaches. They've all been different, whether they sort of are a bit laid back, not too focused, or whether or not like they're more focused on male golf, as it is a male dominated sport. And I've had a coach that focused on power than like precision, because as a female golfer, power is just not really needed. It's more precision, it's more accuracy is what you need. So.
Hold that thought, Aaron, because I know you probably want to talk about that, because I know Hannah does talk about that a little bit later on. So we will touch upon that a little bit more. What about?
Oh no, I'm just agreeing. I'm just nodding and going, yep.
Okay, let's hear from Natasha then, because we'll hear how the coaching that she had when she was a junior golfer. Then this is what Natasha had to say.
I had an amazing coach, Richard Cartwright. He recognized what was going to keep me in the sport, and I contribute a lot of my success to him as a coach. So he made the sessions fun. I always looked forward to going to them, but they were one-on-one coaching sessions. So I had individual coaching, and he broke it down to a way that was understandable, because I like to know why I was doing something. I didn't want to just be told to adjust my swing this way. I wanted to understand like the mechanics behind it. So that was a really big part for me. And then, yeah, like I said, he made it fun. Like I remember laughing through every session, and I wasn't afraid to make mistakes in front of him. Like there was absolutely no pressure. So that was the kind of coaching dynamic that I experienced that really kept me in it.
Presumably you had group coaching as well, whether that was at the club or at county level as well. How similar stroke different was that?
Yeah, so we did do, I think it wasn't until I was about 16 that I got into the county coaching, and that was group stuff. That was less frequent than I probably would have liked. And I think because I came into that quite late, I felt a little bit like I was on the outside, because you're coming into a group of teenage girls or young girls that have like grown up a little bit together. So that was a little hard to navigate. The coaching itself though was great. Like we got to experience different golf courses, and as the year went by, like those shared experiences that you have at training really help kind of motivate you at like county week and stuff like that, and playing together. And like I still keep in contact with a lot of the girls now and see where they're at. So it helped bond us. The sport brought us together, and the coaching itself was just, it was cool because you got a different perspective from like your own private coach, because everyone had their own, and then we had one coach kind of sharing.
Now, I remember, Aaron, in a previous podcast, we talked about coaching. We talked about the group coaching and the individual coaching. With you, Tesney, what was the balance between having an individual coach and also doing group coaching as well?
Well, I did county about 2 years ago. It wasn't the best. I mean, I agree with Natasha. It was not very frequent. They didn't focus on a lot of stuff. Like, it was good coaching, but I just didn't get that sort of energy from the girls. And I mean, even Natasha, she struggled with sort of connecting at the start. That's what I had. So it is a bit sort of different when you started a bit later than everybody else. So it's a bit difficult to click with teenage girls.
Did you feel that? Did you feel as if it was more difficult to fit in because perhaps, I don't know how many were in the group. Let's say, for example, there was 10 in the group and 8 or 9 of them have been together for 2-3 year period, and then suddenly you turned up. Did you feel as if you were the outsider like Natasha felt a little bit?
Yeah, I definitely got that, but I still went to them, and it was like really good. So, and they were good, nice girls, but I don't know, I just didn't really click with them. But competitions were they were good. Like we talked about our rounds of golf and how we went, but I don't know, it was a bit different.
From your point of view then, Aaron, you're the coach and you've got Tesney who comes in as a new person within a group. How do you interact them into that group and try and make them feel as not like they're the outsider? They've been like there all the time, if you like.
So I've got a process, whether it's county or all my classes that I do currently with my 80 kids I teach a week from age 6 all the way to 18. I've got a process when I've got a new child coming in or a new player coming into a group. During the class, I get each kid to walk up, introduce themselves, who they are, how long they've been playing golf, and why they play golf. I get them to walk up at all different times of the class and introduce themselves and make sure that new player, the new kid, feels welcome, a part of the group, a part of the team, and a part of the family that is the academy. And I do that for all my kids, whether they're 6, 16, 18, 12, 14, doesn't matter what age. I've got a new kid coming in. I always get the current players to go and say hi. Then what you'll find is 1 or 2 of those kids go, oh, we've got things in common, or we've got friends in common. All of a sudden, straight away, they find a happy medium and a happy, funny, like a ground where they're going, oh, great. Oh, yeah, that's cool. And all of a sudden, it breaks the ice and opens that line of conversation straight away.
Okay, from your point of view, Tesney, did you have that? Was that kind of thing involved in the groups that you had?
No, not really, but that sounds really good. But sadly, I didn't really get that sort of introduction with everyone.
If Aaron
that comes down to the pro as well.
If Aaron had done that with you, Tesney, then how do you think you would have reacted to that?
Oh, I would have probably definitely like found something in common with people. I mean, I'm a very sociable person. I can talk to anyone. So that would have been really good. I would have made friends easily. It would be easier to make friends.
Obviously, this podcast is about girls golf as well. So, Aaron, let's say Tesney is the only girl in that group when she comes in. Do you treat her slightly differently when you do that process, or is it exactly the same as you would do if it was a boy and they're all girls?
No, exactly the same. Exactly the same. So obviously, I've got a lot of my class. I've got 8 classes a week that I do, but I have one girls group on a Saturday, 11 o'clock. But then all the other groups, all the other 7 groups, there's girls spotted in all those groups. So whether it's a new boy or a new girl that comes into the group, I have all the boys, all the girls. They go up to the new player and say, hi, I'm so-and-so. And I've been here for this long. Aaron's been coaching me here. This is great. This is a really cool place. And, oh, where have you come from? Well, what school do you go to? And just as I said, it really does open up that conversation. It's like an icebreaker. But then you break down barriers because although Tesney said, well, I'm very sociable. Now, none of those other girls would have known that. No one broke the ice and started conversations from a very early on point of view of when Tesney arrived. So by the time you get into a session, or it's gone, it's too far gone. That gate's closed, the door's closed. So then, unfortunately, Tesney's not going to have that bonding and kind of experience with 1 or 2 of the girls that might have common interests or common friends or common things at school together. So, and that's where, unfortunately, then, a year or so down the line, does Tesney go to that next level and play at an elite level for England Golf, or lose a very good talent in the game of golf at a very young age? Do we lose that for 10, 15 years And then fingers crossed that Tesney comes back in her 30s after she's either gone to uni, done work, and then had a family and go, you know what, I might just go back and, I've got a bit of time now. The kids have gone to school. Now I'm in my late 30s. I'll go back to playing golf. So you've got to find that's where I really gets me.
Right, let's hear from obviously Aaron's a PGA professional as well. Let's hear from another PGA professional. Let's hear from Hannah Crump, who does women's coaching. She also did girls coaching as well, and obviously award winning like Aaron as well. This is how she does with her promotion, what she does.
I think one thing I'm trying to do to specialise in at the moment is getting women, retaining women into golf. So actually looking at how can they join a local golf club, gain a handicap, etc. So not just learn golf for 6 weeks and then not know where to go, have a full-on journey from start to finish.
And in your experience, are there reasons why more women aren't in the game of golf? Why they perhaps got in and then dropped out of it?
I think golf obviously was so inaccessible. Even I'm talking probably pre-COVID, so 5-6 years ago. We all know the time golf takes. We all know that if we look at the percentages a few years ago, that 6% of golf was played by women, and I think it's always had that such male-dominated sport. I think you look at golf in the past, it required 2 things: time and money. And I think an average woman with that was starting out, having children, having a career potentially, golf was just the most unattractive sport. And then I think you look back at what golf I've had experiences in my last sort of 5, 6, 7 years where I've tried to introduce women to golf clubs and I've it's been flagged that they're not wearing the right attire. So I think golf being so old-fashioned for so long has absolutely ruined the past for the women getting in the game. I've had so many women that tried it 10 years ago and said that they went home crying. It was like their worst day at work because of how people made them feel. So golf, I think, very sadly has a terrible reputation for women that, year on year, we're just trying to destroy and make women feel so welcome.
Do you think that's changing?
Absolutely, Steve, 100%. I think COVID, I really do. I think COVID made golf realise that, loads of people were trying COVID. I think if your partner, whatever, was playing golf and they were escaping out the house, you wanted a bit of that. So we found so many women take on golf by default really over that period, and you're now seeing the social media burst of golf. So a lot of the influencers and bloggers on social media are young women trying to branch out in the fashion world, golf world, that is naturally attracting so many younger women, younger girls to the game.
So just to explain, the women that you coach, what kind of age range are you talking there?
So I'd say they start roughly around about mid to late 20s. I'd have a couple, handful in their 30s, but I'd say predominantly 40 to 60.
And those age range, then, you must have obviously had conversations with them and said, did you start at a younger age and drop out of it, or have you just started now? And give us the reasons why they did or didn't start at particular ages.
So 99%, I would say, are starting now. And I just think if you ask a 40-year-old, why didn't they start 20 years ago? I think you're just going to get the obvious kind of like A, time in lifestyle, B, I didn't know golf was for women. When you look at, 2017, was it that golf was the one sport that still had a male-only entrance? I think, if you look at that now, that's what we're talking about in the modern world, let alone 20 years ago. You just can't even imagine what golf would have been like. So, for a woman's point. So, very, very, I have the odd one. And if they did play golf when they were younger, it purely would have been because their parents played. That's probably one of the most common things I say or hear, or my parents used to play, so I had to go. But very, 19, I get a lot of hockey players, tennis players, netball players. So I'm getting a lot of sporty women come, but golf has just never.
So that's obviously Hannah talking about her getting women to the game of golf there, but she did touch on a little bit about the girls as well. And some of the things that she brought up there, Tesney, the reputation of golf, and not a great reputation as well. And she's talking about from older ladies or older women. Were you aware as a girl of how bad the reputation was of golf with women or not?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, for example, my mum plays, but she only plays golf for enjoyment. But she only started not so long ago. I've got many older sort of like lady friends that sort of help sort of understand golf, but all of them started late. They never started early. They've only started when they were about in their 40s. So I 100% agree with Hannah in what she says. So
And also the point she made there about dress codes, is that something which cropped up in your life when you were in your young life now? Is that something whereby you have been made aware of already?
not so much, as I think when I started, it was a bit more like women's golf was a bit more out there a little bit. So I think it is women's clothing and women's golf clothing is getting more popular. But I know in some golf clubs there is nothing, or there is very limited selection of golf clothes for women.
Okay, I have to ask you the question there, but has that cropped up when you've gone to a golf club and someone has come up to you and said, no, you're not allowed to be wearing that, or those types of conversations with you before?
No, I've never had that before. I think sort of I learned the etiquette quite easy. So
I'm pleasantly surprised that you said that, Tiffany, and Aaron might be. I suspect you are as well, because I think that kind of conversation crops up too often, and it's pleasantly surprising the fact that it hasn't cropped up with Tesney so far.
yeah.
It is, but also I have to say that I mean when after COVID, I would agree with Hannah. After COVID, I had a group of 4 or 5 ladies that wanted to start golf, and they were semi-retirees, and all of a sudden that group went from 5 to 7 to 12 to 15. And then currently right now in my ladies WhatsApp group, I have 52 ladies in my WhatsApp group. Now, obviously, I don't see them all the time. But one thing that I have told them from day dot is wear what you want, comfortable clothing, wear anything that you would desire. If it's in winter, wear something warm. In summer, wear something that's just going to be nice and cool for you. But from a teaching point of view, I make sure that nothing is ever said to my ladies. Everything has to go through me. So if any of the members want to complain about their attire, I just give them a bit of a what for and go, well, we all have to start somewhere and we have to learn. And these ladies are learning. They're not on the golf course. So, sit in your path and you go off and play. You go do what you need to do. So I'm a bit forward in that respect. Unfortunately, that's my Aussie coming out of me, where I just go and tell them where to go. But it's good that obviously Tesney hasn't come across that. But like you, Steve, yes, like we have heard, unfortunately, bad stories of ladies getting turned away or being told, no, what are you doing? And I think it is poor because inclusion and acceptance has to be two big words to golf clubs and also the golf pros to make sure that other members and the golf club have those two words in capitals: inclusion and acceptance of male golfer or ladies golf. When they're learning, let them learn, let them enjoy the game.
Now, obviously, we're talking about dress code here, but Tesney, you use the word etiquette there as well. Is that something which has cropped up as well in conversation when you were coming through in the sense of, that girl doesn't know what the etiquette of playing on the golf course or anything like that? I'm not saying that's me saying that, but have you had that type of comment made about you or to you?
I have, like when I was much younger and early beginner, but I think that's just part of like the learning stage. So I think sort of simple things like repairing pitch marks or, not letting slow play happen. But I think some like male golfers stereotype ladies in women's golf as sort of they don't know etiquette, they just don't know golf. and it
They
is quite
stereotype
hurtful.
juniors, Tesney. That's the problem. They
Yeah,
stereotype juniors. And
yeah.
but when you were learning, Tesney, were you on the golf course straight away, or were you actually just like on a range or hitting balls on a field?
It is usually on the range. Well, it was usually on the range, but yeah.
So I find it hard. I find it quite intriguing that people would actually make make mention of like etiquette stuff when you're not even on the golf
Mm.
course. And this is where members are stepping out of line. A, they shouldn't. B, not their place. And this is what my opinion is that gives golf a bad name, is that you've got members that are hardcore old school, won't change with the times, won't get up into the 21st century, in 2025, and they're still living in the 1980s, and nothing changes, and fashion changes, and the internet's changed everything. YouTube, bloggers, and females are now, as we've mentioned before, females are now being integral parts of. And I've lost count of how many times I've come across on Instagram a female golfer learning the game that is doing just videos and videos upon videos of them out in the golf course playing golf, learning the game, and just videoing it and getting tens of thousands of hits. Now, if golf clubs aren't switching on to the internet phase of our lives, then they are so far behind, Steve. And unfortunately, we're talking a very high percentage of golf courses in the UK are so far behind.
Right, you mentioned about playing on a golf course there, and the role that plays in development as a junior golfer. We are going to hear from Natasha talking about the role that junior competitions took it in her development. What about you, Tesney? When did you first start playing in competitions, and how important was that?
Well, personally, I haven't done many competitions. This year is my sort of first competitive season, I would say. So I've done a lot this year, but it's the same sort of thing. I've experienced some people who like don't have much etiquette, especially guys, more to say. Even so, at college, I sort of learn and play golf. So most of the guys in my class, which is about over three-quarters of them are guys, a lot of them don't have any etiquette at all. So it is quite sort of disappointing to them.
Again, that's coaching
especially.
direction, professional
Yeah.
involvement in creating the citizens of a golf club, showing them the rules. This is how you need to be, as a model member of a golf club. These are the simple things that you must not try and do, must do after your golf course, just like everyone else's. And that's Steve. That's just direction. There's no direction coming from professionals if there's none of that.
Right, I'm going to leave myself massively open here. You are Desney, you are more than welcome to tear me apart here. You mentioned this is your first year or first year of properly playing in competitions. You played in 2 of my events this year, so I'm leaving myself open. What have I done right? What have I done wrong in the competitions that I ran this year?
Don't hold back,
Well,
Tesney. Don't hold back.
Well, your 2 competitions that you provided and I went to, they were brilliant. I mean, like the sign up and all that, they were really good. So, and the selection that you had, I mean, you had a decent amount of like ladies and young, and like one girl, she plays phenomenal. I mean, a lot of them really do. So you get like a lot of sort of mixture, which is good.
Okay, once again, how does the event that I ran, or the 2 events that I ran where you played in, compare with other events that you've been in? What did I do right? What could I make better? This podcast is not just about me trying to give advice to other people. I want to take advice on board about how I can make my competitions better. So tell me how, from a girl's point of view, how I could make mine better, or if there are things I'm doing right, tell me now, so at least I know what I'm doing right.
Well, I've done Junior Opens before. I've done Faldo Series before. So I think you do really well in sort of providing a presentation and doing like live scoring, as I know you do that, which is really good. It's really helpful. And you pick really nice golf courses. I must say that. Like the two I played at were phenomenal.
That helps.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Let's hear from Natasha then. I did mention that now Natasha I've known for 10 years. She played in some of the events that I ran 8-9 years ago. So fascinating to hear what she said as far as the role that junior competitions played in her development as a golfer. This is what Natasha had to say.
As soon as I wanted to go to America, and that was a decision, like we realized I need to be playing in competitive, like highly competitive tournaments. So I did play in like the English junior amateurs and stuff like that. And it was a really cool experience. I think looking back at it now, I definitely let the pressure of other, like being in around other girls get to me, because I wasn't used to that as much. You're playing with guys and guys just don't care. Like they're there to have fun, they're there to hit a golf ball. Whereas with girls, it was like, oh, what is she wearing? And it gets a little more like, you feel a little bit more judged and, you know, scrutinized. But yeah, we played in some really, really cool tournaments across the country, but I remember having to travel really far. Like there wasn't a lot of like super local stuff apart from the Shires tour, which is why I really enjoyed that. Because you know, my parents did too, because we didn't have to travel as far, and it was always really well run, and it still gave you that competitive environment that was both, you know, it was mixed, but there were girls there as well. So it was a nice taster and introduction to the next level of highly competitive golf.
So the golf industry's changed a fair bit over the last few years or so with making more mixed competitions. We will go into more detail talking about mixed competitions, but I think it's specifically tees, because playing off red tees and playing on a shorter golf course, was that something which you enjoyed, or did you feel as if I don't know, were the boys when they looked at you tell me, what was your experience of that?
I think it really depends who I was playing with. I think when I first started, it was a nice little confidence boost. And it was, you kind of felt a little bit like, haha, like I'm ahead of you guys, like I get a head start. And then as I started to improve, I started to get a little bit bitter about it, because I was like, I can hit the ball just as far as him. Like, why am I having to be up here? And like when I coach now, I always explain the tees as the red is like the beginner tees, not the ladies' tees, because I think it should be down to ability, not necessarily gender, because all through college, I didn't see the red tees. I was playing from the back tees. So I think it really is, it should be down to your level.
Yeah, I think this is fascinating, that playing off red tees and yellow tees, because, and Aaron's in the same boat as me, I've never had to make that decision, because I've always been put off the yellow tees or the white tees, and never really someone has ever said to me, you play off the red tees. From your point of view, I mean, that's the point I made to Natasha there, was the fact that the golf industry has changed a lot over the last recent years, in the sense of now they are tees for all different levels, and it's not the red tees are the ladies' tees, it's the red tees are for a particular level. The competitions that you played in, though, Tesney, have you always been put off the red tees? Is that how it's been put to you so far?
Yeah, so I've always been put off red tees or the further front tees. It's always been like that, but it's different. I mean, everybody calls it the ladies' tee, girls' tee, when I mean, as Natasha said, it should be off ability. As I've played some golf courses out in Portugal who do it off ability. So that's, in my personal opinion, that is the best way to do it. But it is sort of, as I said earlier, it's quite stereotypical, as to say that's the ladies' tee, they can only do that tee, when I don't see a problem going off the yellows or whites.
Is that something which bothers you, in the sense of when you turn up? You know, I'm guilty of this. All the competitions I've run, the girls have played off the red tees, and I've not even, for being honest, I've not even considered doing another option. It was only when I spoke to Natasha and I just thought to myself, hold on a second here, why don't I send them off the yellow tees, or why don't I send them off with different tees? Why, you know, we've got when we do the news a little bit later, there's a news article whereby I did a gross competition, and one of the girls came in with the second best gross score in the competition, and I had first 2 prizes in the gross competition. Initially, I was going to do best of the boys, best of the girls, and in the end, I just said, no, let's do the first and second in the gross competition overall. So I changed the way that I looked at that competition based on the fact that someone's ability had made me rethink. Now, why wouldn't I put you off the yellow tees? And would that, when you look at that competition, would you think of it any differently if I did that, Tesney?
I would see it more as a challenge, I guess. I mean, it's a new course. It's a bit longer of a distance, but I always see it as a challenge, especially playing new courses and competitions that I've never sort of participated in.
Now, you run competitions, Aaron. If you gone on the same route as myself, in the sense, I know you do your age-related more than perhaps boys and girls and handicap, which is what I do. But is that something which you thought, whereby, you know, why did the girls have to go off the red tees? Why don't we put them off the yellows? Why don't we put them off a different team?
Currently, right now, obviously, in the UK, it's always been reds for ladies and yellows and whites for the men. And it's quite poignant that we get to this point, or this subject. Back in 2014 in Australia, started the revolution of multi-tee competitions. Now, in Australia, at the golf course I was head pro at, Gardeners Run in Melbourne, there was you had the blue tees, and then you had the white tees, then you had the gold tees. Now, the blue tees is the equivalent to the white tees here. The white tees were the equivalent of the yellow ones here, but then the golds are red. So, male or female could pick any of the tees. The ladies had 2 tees to pick from. They had the golds and the whites to pick from. The men had all 3 to pick from. Now, the slopes were all changed, adjusting to those golf courses. So for the ladies, the gold tees was their normal course. But if they wanted to, a harder golf course and a much longer golf course was the white tees, which was the members tees. So the ladies could go off the championship, what they call them championship ladies tees, which was the white ones, which was the middle tees. Their handicaps, obviously, with the slope system, went up. Yeah, but then the men, study was done, and this is why it's so successful in Australia and has been now for over 11 years now, is that the men could then pick, if they want to go, and we're talking the over 50s and the over 60s, they want to, they could go down to the gold tees and play in the competition against a guy in the same group that was playing 2 tees back on the blues and playing a golf course that was about 800 yards, 600, 700 yards longer. In the same competition, Steve, their handicaps would get adjusted from the slope ratings. So you'd find the players that went up the back tees, 9 times out of 10, it was all the single figure players went up the back. But you'd find all the older gentlemen over the age of 55 and 60 would all go gold tees in the comps. Numbers of participation levels in competitions went up, God knows how many 100%, because they could pick any tee. UK, unfortunately, we're 2025 and we still haven't moved over to that system of multi-tee competitions and giving, yes, ladies more options to play off different tees, but also the opposite as well, giving the men also other options to play a golf course.
Right, we're going to talk about, they mentioned it earlier with Natasha, mixed competitions then, Tesney. So the competitions you played in this year, have they been mixed competitions? Have you played in any girls-only competitions?
Sadly, I have not played in any only girls competitions. They've all been mixed competitions so far. But even so, like, as results, you've always get a girls and boys results, either as gross and net results as well.
Okay, that's because, well,
girls only results, Tesney. So you might be playing with guys, but you've got your own competition.
Yeah.
So so mixed competitions, especially with junior golf, Steve, is is that unless you had junior opens, but you can't please everyone. You're going to have that conversation that parent is always going to say, yeah, but my son should be playing in the boys, or my daughter needs to play against other girls. And we've now got this, what do? Do you get more integration, more inclusiveness into one big event and have boys and girls?
Okay, let's hear from Natasha on her take on the mixed competitions that she played in when she was a junior. This is Natasha and what she had to say about it.
For the mixed tournaments, I think that was some of the biggest confidence boosters for me. It's very competitive because you are playing against guys, and guys just naturally pick it up a lot faster than girls, I think. And I think they have, like we talked about at the start, at junior level, I think it's quite rare to see a lot of girls get into it to the extent and the level and the intensity that boys do at the start. So I think that boys kind of have a little bit of a head start, but when you do get to that age where you catch up to them, or you're right there with them, it's such a confidence boost being like the only girl at the award ceremony and stepping up in front of all the boys and collecting your trophy. I think it's a really cool feeling, and I always felt like I didn't ever feel very judged by the boys. I think that they were, I mentioned before, they're there to hit golf balls. They were there to compete. Like, they weren't there to really judge anyone else. Whereas in girls only tournaments, it depends on who at the tournaments, but it's a very you tend to know everyone because it's such a small community. So in a girls tournament, when you did win something, you weren't always sure, are they judging me for that or are they supporting me for that? And then as you get older, the dynamic does change, and it is very supportive. Like, everyone is happy for each other and kind of crowd around each other and want to take photos with you and that kind of thing. And you're celebrated a lot more. So I think it's like the dynamic for girls only tournaments from junior to teenager to, young adult, the atmosphere changes throughout them. Whereas in mixed, I think it's pretty similar throughout. And I enjoyed both, but the biggest confidence.
I suppose the parallel I'm thinking of, you may have played in some mixed tournaments, Desney, but obviously there are the girls' prizes in it. What about the nearest to pins? Because I always wonder when I give a nearest to pin prize on a particular hole is to try and find a hole whereby I look at it and go, which tees are going to be fairest for everyone? So one whereby the red tees, if the girls are off the red tees, the boys off the yellow tees, and the better players off the white tees, whether it's fair for all of them. We've all played on a hole whereby the tees are probably about 3 yards difference between the three tees, and Tesney playing off the red tees might be hitting a 4-iron, whereby the lads might be hitting a wedge off the back tees. And you just think, well, there's no fairness there. Is that the kind of thing whereby when you've turned up in competitions and they've had the nearest to pins and you thought, Tesney, I've got no chance here, or other way around, actually I've got a great chance here because I've got so much yardage on the rest of the field?
I mean, at your competitions, I feel like you picked really good par threes, but I mean, as you say, it is difficult sort of finding an equal balance between sort of whether it's good or not for both male and female. But yeah, it is different.
And also the bit which Tasha mentioned there about how it was so much better to beat the boys as well. I might want to mention this story to Aaron and previously, but I remember we did Trish Johnson, who plays on the Ladies European Tour. We had her playing in one of my events with a few of the winners of an Order of Merit. And at the end of the day, she did a little putting competition with all the players, all the juniors who played in the whole competition, and it was fantastic because she did not want to get beaten by the juniors, and all the juniors wanted to beat her. So it was so competitive. She said it was the best 2 hours putting practice she's ever had because she didn't want to get beaten by the boys. The boys wanted to beat a tour pro. So it was almost irrelevant, the fact that it was a mixed competition. It was just all about the standard kind of thing, and perfect example. Another example as well, Charlie Hull. whenever she played against my friend Ryan Evans, and Ryan Evans, who you know, Aaron, very, very good player, plays on, played on the European Tour, played on the Challenge Tour. Whenever they have a practice round of golf together at Woburn, they always play off the back tees.
Yep.
And Charlie has never lost to Ryan. She's beaten him every single time, so therefore the challenge from Ryan is, I want to beat this girl. And Charlie's challenge is, I'm not going to lose to this boy, So it can bring out the best by having those mixed competitions, even though, is that something which you bring in with your events then, trying to bring in that mixed element within, even though they have the categories?
I do. My nearest to pins, I try and just do it in age groups. So under 18s, under 15s, under 13s, and then under 10s. I just make it across the board, boys and girls. But like you put onto a par 3 that there's not a lot of massive gap, so there's not a lot of advantage or disadvantage. You just try and make it a little bit, and cool for everybody. But no, making it across the board. That's why in my events as well, I get the girls to play golf with the boys. So in their age groups, I get the girls teeing off with the guys in the same age group, and not just putting the girls with the girls and the boys with the boys. I mix it up because it's important to do so because you don't want to you want the girls to obviously meet a lot other players, but also obviously have another girl with you, sure. But sometimes some of the girls actually quite thrive on the enjoyment of the competition against the boys. Yes, they're playing Stableford. Yes, they're playing for different teeth, but sometimes the girls actually quite enjoy it, the competition. Well,
let's hear from Natasha again. We talked a little bit more about coaching and a little bit of discrimination as well that she experienced when she was a junior golfer. This is what she had to say.
For the mixed tournaments, I think that was some of the big...
Nope, wrong video. This one.
I was in a group putting session at Silverstone, and the pro there was great. But I was one the youngest and two the only girl, and with 5 to 7 other guys. And I just remember we did like a little putting drill at the end, and it's putting. So it's not like it's about strength and distance or anything. And he gave me a head start in front of everyone else. And I remember thinking, like, why? I'm not the worst golfer here. But it was because I was a girl. So I got singled out because I was a girl in something like putting. And that really hurt my feelings and really got in my head. Because I was like, am I the worst? Does he think that of me? And I think that as a coach now with juniors, especially, I will really play on like the making this fun, inclusive, and welcoming environment, no matter the gender, and making it all equal, especially at that age. And then if someone is like doing really well, then I will single them out and make it harder for them. I will never make it easier for someone. I think that would be like my biggest advice working with the different genders.
Obviously, we've spoken about mixed competitions, and what about girls and ladies? Because you're a good golfer as a junior golfer. You played in teams which had girl golfers who were part of the county ladies team as well. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're from Northamptonshire, so you had the likes of Charlie Hull and Megan McLaren who'd come through that setup and been exceptional golfers as junior golfers as well. What kind of reaction did you get from the ladies when you were getting into their team? Was it perhaps a little bit of jealousy at times? I don't know.
Yeah, I remember playing in the Ladies Club Championships, and it was there was one award ceremony after playing. It was my first year playing in ladies stuff, and there was complaints because I was going up for every single trophy for the ladies. And at the time, at first, I was like, oh, this is really cool. By the end, even I was a little embarrassed. Like, if it was very uncomfortable for everyone. And I think there was a little bit of like standoffish, and some women would actually genuinely prefer not to play with me because it made them feel a certain way. And as a child, like, you don't really think too much about it, but it really bothered my parents. Like, it really got under their skin. And that was another reason we actually ended up moving golf clubs as well, because we weren't welcomed, and it was suggested that I needed to play in the men's tournaments from now on and not the ladies because of how.
We've spoken a lot about the discrimination perhaps that boys and girls of the boys have given to the girls, but what about the ladies to the girls there? Obviously Natasha mentioned there about perhaps a little bit of jealousy. Is that something you've faced, Hesney, with the ladies at the club you remember out in that, playing against a girl as opposed to the other ladies?
Not so much. I would say they're just more jealous of my swing because a lot of them have difficulties to, swing and stuff. But a lot from the ladies I've played with and talked to, they just admire how I play, more to say. But they're all really nice. But yeah.
You can understand how something like that could be off-putting if that type of stuff, like it did with Natasha, in the sense of, it initially perhaps a little bit embarrassed, but then it didn't affect her, but from a parent's point of view, it was upsetting, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I see where she's coming from 100%, but yeah, no, I didn't really receive such thing.
Now, I have to mention a story as well which happened with Natasha when I knew her, and she played in the County Ladies Championship, and she got through to this wasn't the County Girls Championship, the County Ladies Championship. She got through to the knockout stage of it, so top 8 to go through to the knockout stages, made it through to the semi-finals of the knockout stages, and lost in the semi-final to another, not quite a junior golfer, but certainly I think 19-year-old golfer, so another young golfer. Just missed out in the final. That golfer then went on to win the final, and then the ladies were picking their team to go to County Week a couple of weeks later, and they didn't pick Natasha. Now, this is a story I didn't tell Natasha at the time, and I'm sure she's going to watch this podcast back. I had a right old go at the county about that because I felt it was discriminated against Natasha. The fact that someone who was in the top 4 players in the county wasn't good enough to get in their top 10 players in the county and their county team. And their argument back to me was the fact that they were only going to pick one junior out of those 2 girls who met in that semi-final to get into that county team. And I just couldn't see the logic of, if you've got the top 4 players in the county, just unlucky the fact that the 2 juniors met in the semi-final. What happens if they met in the final? Were you still only going to pick one of them? Now, the reason why this story is so poignant is the fact that the other girl who went on to win it became a professional golfer, and just this last 2 or 3 weeks has won 2 tournaments as a professional golfer, including one on the Access Tour, which is the feeder tour to the Ladies European Tour. So someone who's gone on to become an exceptional golfer. And as we've seen in Natasha's gone on as well and gone on to become a very good golfer, and obviously set up her own company over in the US as well. Now, in theory, it could have gone the wrong way. One of those 2 golfers might have gone, look, if you're not going to pick me for the county, I'm just going to leave the sport. Now, I know that you've not been through that experience, but that's the kind of experience which could put you off, couldn't it? If you start getting where people aren't picking you or aren't selecting you on merit, they're picking you because of your age. I mean, now, has that scenario ever cropped up with you, in the sense of people whereby you feel as if you might have been discriminated, and because you are a young golfer, not just a golfer?
I personally haven't really had that, but I do understand where Natasha's coming from. I see where that can happen, where people sort of think of young golfers and they can discriminate against us and not sort of see the ability. But it's sad to see.
Right, well, I'm sure we will get Aaron back. I know he's got some young family and he's putting them to bed this evening. So in the meantime, we're going to hear again from Hannah, who's talking about perceptions changing within golf. Well, let's hope so anyway, between girls and women's golf. This is what she had to say.
I think girls definitely, like I said, it's starting to become a little bit more cool, I want to say. I think that word's probably quite safe. Golf, I think initially was like your grandma plays it and, you got to wear a tartan dress and long socks. I think it always had that image. So for a girl, golf was just not attractive. And if you were a girl and you wanted to wear golf clothes, they had to be pink and flowery skirts. I remember this really clearly. So golf, just if I wasn't so good at golf growing up, I know I'd have backed out instantly because it just was so everything everything I wanted. I wanted to use my phone. I wanted to wear jeans. I wanted to do everything that golf just frowned upon. And as a girl, that was just not what I wanted. But now you're seeing rules relax slowly but surely. It's happening. And I think staying into golf, I think this needs to change a lot. I think women, girls get to a point of maybe 15, 16, and maybe see that golf, they're not going to get to that next stage, which we all know is a ridiculously high standard. But the message that I kind of would like to put across, I suppose, in one way or another, and maybe down the line, is that like the career myself, Aaron Lansbury, certain different pros that you look around, that, you know, coaching and staying in the sport this way can actually be a fantastic and very successful career. So I think maybe at the moment at 15, 16, their only option is make it on tour, and or you know, go out to America. And if that's becoming quite apparent that that's not going to happen, drop off happens, because what else is there to do if I'm not going to get to that level? So I think a bit of education on actually, do you know what other routes could you take in golf? You know, there are so I think actually educating those good girls of 16, 17 that could be on a cusp of leaving the sport, you know, show them what's next.
So just from your point of view, then, just a final point, then, you're a women coaching women. How do you do it differently, and how should male coaches coach women differently?
I don't think there should be any difference. I think I actually remember a comment a few years ago from a guy who said, "Oh, I don't teach women's groups. I'm not into that whole gin and put and prosecco story." And I was like, God, that is so patronizing that's what people think that women want. I will say, you know, I think I look at it and I do get women's emotions are very different, but I also think men's, you know, if you have a group of men beginners, they're gonna have the same ups and downs. So I think first of all is stop, you know, don't treat it different. They are a group of women, younger women in today's world that are wanting to get good at a sport. So that would be my first bit of advice, you know, that patronizing kind of feeling and all of that. However, I think find that balance of, you know, hit it harder, swing quicker doesn't work for a female body. So if you're going to do it, I think maybe have a little bit of look and a little bit of respect of the biology of a woman. And I think when you look at actually how a woman works, it is very different to a man. So, you know, the stories like just, you know, go on, just hit it a bit harder doesn't quite always work. So I think maybe just a little bit of understanding of that can really help. You know, I think there's a couple of obvious things there that men, like, you know, would kind of not know what to do with. And I think just actually understanding how that would work within the game would be very helpful. But then most importantly, you're just dealing with, you know, a really good group of women that want to start. So, you know, yeah, I think that would be what I would say is looking at it. I do have a lot of ups and downs. I have a lot of women that, you know, can be tearful on the course, but I don't think in any respect it's looking at that negatively. It's looking at that positively, that they want to make a change, they want to improve. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Just
finally then, anyone who wants to get in touch with you, anyone who wants some coaching from you, how do they go about doing that?
Awesome. So yes, Stonebridge Golf Club, that's where I'm located, and the website for us is ignitegolf.co.uk.
So that was Hannah there talking about her experiences as well, and she mentioned there about the speed and trying to hit the ball, and you mentioned a little earlier that message. I don't know whether you said that had been tried to put through to you or not, or you've been made aware of coaches trying to get you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, a coach I had previously wanted me to hit the ball harder, get more power, and it just doesn't work. I mean, as Hannah said, like girls and women, we sort of work differently. We don't have the muscles that men genetically have more, but I think it's more accuracy and precision that is key in women's golf.
And also as well, I mean, with Mo will have been looking at the other sports as well. In women's football, there you know, there's lots of studies going on about women getting more injuries because of them trying to give the male perspective on how they should be going about their sport, and not looking at it from the women's point of view as well. So it's not just in golf that type of thing is people are looking at it as well, or getting it wrong. It is in other sports as well. Yeah. We are going to hear from Natasha just again. There is actually something which I want to ask you about as well. Is that during this program, I've used the word girls, I've used the word women's, I've used the word ladies. From a girl's point of view, what am I? You know, and I've done an interview with Ian Carter, who works for the BBC Radio 5, is the BBC correspondent, golf correspondent, and he was very much, we should never use the phrase ladies. From a girl's point of view, what is your take on that?
I mean, women, girls, ladies, it it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's more sort of section people and like ages, but it's not in personal opinion, it's not sort of the best way to do it. Because for me being 17, I'm still classed as a girl, but there's maturity wise, and it's not.
I suppose the point I'm trying to get across, when you get to the age of 18, would you want to be called, you know, a woman, or would you want to be called a lady? That's where the controversy, if you like, is the fact that they say ladies section, whereas some clubs say no, we're not a ladies section, we're the women's section, or it's a women's competition, it's not the ladies competition. What's your take on that side of it?
I mean, it's sort of different with everyone, but I feel like it shouldn't really be a problem, because it is how different clubs sort of see, and like, or like different people and different women's or lady, like it's just how they sort of
Okay, all right. The other one as well, which I appreciate whether I'm asking the right people or not for this as well, is within a club as well, you have the men's captain. Well, no, you have a club captain, and then you have a ladies captain as well. And I have been to clubs whereby they have made the club captain has been a woman, and it's the first time that they've ever done that. And if I'm being honest, it made no difference whatsoever towards that year. And that club was almost like a bit of an eye-opener for that club as well. Have you ever been to a club which has that, or have you always been the traditional clubs and been whereby they've got the ladies captain and then they've got the club captain?
Yeah, I haven't, no. I mean, my club is very traditional. We've got a like a men's main captain. We've got a men's senior captain, and we were close to having no ladies captain. Nobody really wanted to step up. A lot of ladies left like last year. So it is a struggle at my golf club at this point. But a lot of ladies just don't want to do it. They just don't want to have the captain role. It's not looking very pleasing. But to be honest, I don't mind whether you know, a man would step up to be a lady captain, even though they're not a lady or a woman or
Yeah, I suppose
anything. I don't see a difference.
Yeah. Okay, right. We're also just one final interview with Natasha. We're going to talk about getting into the golf industry as well. That's what Natasha's done. We'll talk about your take on how you would like to get into the golf industry and how easy stroke difficult you think it might be as a woman, as a girl. Let's hear from Natasha and how she's got into the golf industry.
So getting into the golf industry is definitely like you're fighting for the opportunities, because there are limited ones. And I think that a lot of guys come into it with slightly more experience, or more of a passion, or they know someone, and that's really helped them kind of enter into it. I, however, as the landscape is changing, have not had to jump through too many hoops to get into the golf industry, because it's the culture's changing, and they do actually want more women, especially in America right now, representing, especially women of color. It's actually been like most opportunities that I've gone for, I have felt like I've had almost like a extra help being a woman coming into it, just because right now it's encouraged. I think if I would have been trying to do this 10 years ago, it would have been extra challenging. And I think I would have hit a lot more closed doors. But I think I've entered into it at the right time. Now, my experience when I got into it was not the most welcoming at all times. I think at one of my jobs, I wanted to actually get my PGA teaching certification and was told no, I wasn't allowed. Whereas I know that some other guys were going for theirs. So I think, that once you're in the sport, there's definitely more barriers as a woman. And you have to fight for your opportunities without coming across, like you're yelling or you're being uptight or you're making a fuss or being dramatic. So that's been really tough to navigate. And that's definitely caused a few little bumps along the road. But yeah, now I'm kind of doing my own thing, and that's been a big part of why I wanted to do my own thing. Because of once I got into it, I was like, this is not the environment I thought it would be. And I wanted something that was actually I love golf, I love working in it. I want to wake up and be excited, not put down.
Right, just explain what you do, what the setup that you've organised, and obviously I know it's based in America, but perhaps the people in the UK watching it and thinking, actually, we can do that in the UK. So just explain what you do.
Yeah, so I run Carolina for Her, which is an organization for women. It's female focused, so female only coaches, female only events, workshops, lessons, and the whole part of it is community. So bringing us together, we'll do 9 holes on the golf course and then go to the winery, or go get coffee and then go play 18 holes. So it's just all about us, coming together and helping women start their journey, because a lot of women are interested in golf but have no idea how to get into it. And I was lucky enough that my family played, and that's what got me into it. But that's not the same for everyone. And it's one of those sports that you can play or start learning at any point in your life. So there's a lot of women who didn't play when they were younger, and their now husband or boyfriend plays, and they're getting left at home, and they don't want that anymore. So I have an app that you can download and learn about like the basics from a woman's perspective. We do workshops, and then we do individual lessons as well. So just bringing people together so that they.
So that's Natasha obviously talking about how she's got into the golf industry as well. And from a girl's point of view, Tesney, it's obviously something which you consider and you'd like to do yourself. Do you see the barriers that Natasha saw, and do you feel as if they are too big barriers, or the ones whereby at least you're aware of them, you can overcome them?
Well, I think that sort of there's a lot more opportunities, like Natasha said, especially for like girls golf. I see a lot of opportunities for like sponsorships out in America. I've seen a lot out in Australia as well, which are really good. So I think that has really grown over the past couple of years as girls golf, and the encouragement for like progression in girls golf. But I think the barriers can be different in sort of different situations. For example, I have a barrier of mine. It's sort of financial. I don't particularly have the money to go out to America and study out there. There are cheaper and easier options that I could take, for example, Australia. So looking out there is sort of a first option, but there are sort of carry on.
Yeah, I was going to say, and from the financial point of view as well. I mean, I don't think, you might tell me different. I don't think you're probably going to go down the professional route trying to become a tour professional or anything like that. But you must see on the tours whereby the top players in the men's game make a lot more money than the top players in the women's game. And obviously that filters down, whereby the people who are the lower tiers in the men's game can still make a living, whereby the ones on the women's side of it really do struggle, even though they are, very, very close to being in that top level. And that must be a concern, not just at that level, but also in different parts of the industry as well, from a woman's point of view.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a sort of big problem with like the difference between men and women's golf. The money is really different, and the prize monies for, even as you said, like lower down people, it is different. But that's across all sports. I mean, I know football's getting a bit better for women, rugby's getting really good, but some sports are just sort of the price difference and the reward difference is major, is a big difference.
All right. So we've obviously chatted quite a lot about girls golf and everything. Unfortunately, Aaron can't make it back for this, but we're going to go through the news section now. You might get a mention coming in here as well, Tesney, because obviously we're going to be looking at some of the events which have taken place. It's been a fairly busy April, as you can imagine, because a lot of competitions taking place over the Easter period. Got a few photos as well to show you about some of the events that took place. So had with Progress Junior Golf had the Wonder Series, which took place at Anstey Golf Club. The first event actually took place in March. We had 15 players taking part in that one. 20 took part in the second event, and that was a young lad there called Noah, who I think that's the closest the ball almost hit me this year. So it's a good luck to Noah there. He tried to get me, but not quite. Next event we had was at Coventry Hersal Golf Club, which is a junior open at Coventry Hersal. It's usually a pretty good scoring course, and once again proved to be the case again. So if I told you the top division, the best net score in the top division was net 59, and that still wasn't the lowest net score in the competition. The lowest net score in the competition was a 14 under par net 56, and that was from George Hoey there. So really good scoring from that competition. Then we had the Master Series event, which took place at the Forest of Arden. I don't know who played in this competition. Do you know anyone who played in this competition? You did.
I
yes.
played in it.
You did. Right. So competition-wise, there the results. I'm just trying to find the winning photo here. So the boys' competition, actually, the same player won the gross in that. That was Jamie Twaits. The silver division was won by Luke Boyle. Ava Allenby was the best girls' gross score. In the girls' net competition, this was the winner, Lily Johnson. Did Lily play with you? I can't remember whether she played in the same group as you.
No, she didn't. I forgot who played with me, but I did hear that she played really well, and I congratulated her.
Yeah, so 14 under par, net 58. Anya Sakija was second with a 63, but the most important player finished third, and that was?
That was me.
That was you. Well done for finishing third. Yes. Did you get a prize?
Yes.
Did you get a prize?
No, I didn't.
Oh dear. Okay. Have a word with the organizer. Should have sorted out a prize. It's shocking. So, now the next event though that took place at Handsworth Golf Club, the West Midlands Masters.
Yeah.
Once again, I know someone who quite famous who played in that competition. Who was that?
I wonder.
You wonder, yes, exactly. So once again, let's see if we can drag the photo up. So actually Anya Sakija, she had the lowest score of the girls in that, 8 under par, net 66. The best score for the boys was a 10 under par, net 60. The one thing I wanted to point out, though, you were helping me out. We were going through taking photos on the course and everything like that. One thing I would say, though, is need to get rid of that person in the background there whenever you're trying to take a photo.
Oh my God, how dare he?
Yes, shocking. But having said that, there are photos whereby you don't mind someone else being in the shot, and that was our friend.
Oh, he was so cute, but he was a bit distracting actually. I had to stop and wait for him to run past, but he just laid in front of me. I'm like, thank you.
He was very friendly, wasn't he? I mean, he literally would go right up to the players, wouldn't he? So right, other events which took place as well. We had Paul Broadhurst Atherstone Junior Open. Just a quick photo of the winner of that competition, which was so Paul Broadhurst. If you're not aware of Paul Broadhurst, he's a former Ryder Cup player. His son Sam was helping out with the presentation. And Finley Gower won the competition there. Finley got a gross 78. The best net score was a net 65, and Sam helped out with the presentations there. Then we had another Master Series event which took place at Fulford Heath. This was for the Planet Golf Day. So we had sustainability is obviously a big part of Progress Junior Golf. We had Alice Nicholson and Jeff Sampson helping out there. And we had a little chipping challenge as well afterwards, whereby the girls and boys were trying to hit the balls into these nets. So out of 10, seeing how far, I know it's difficult to tell. How many out of 10 do you reckon you would have got there then, Tesney?
I don't know. I'd say about 5, maybe 6. I'm decent at chipping.
Okay, well, if I told you that the best out the entire field was 4 out of 10, so you'd have won. So you turned up to the wrong competition because you'd have got 5 or 6.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, chipping's my strong point.
Yes. Well, there you go. You see, you should have put the name down for that competition. But yeah, so
Yeah.
some of the scores, once again, really good scores in that competition. Luke Boyle with a net 60. Next event after that was the Rugby Junior Open. Did mention a little bit earlier about the gross prize in that competition. The gross winner was a 73. Second place, though, hats off to Charlotte Gosling Evans, who shot a 4 over par 74 to get second place in that. So just proves, and also as you can see with Charlotte there, quite a young golfer as well. It surprised me how young she is, which I think she played off 3 handicaps. A really good golfer there. So well done to her for coming along and playing in that competition. Aaron had some events as well. I think we'll save those for the next podcast, whereby he can explain more about the competitions that took place up in the northeast with him. So the Ace Junior Golf Tour. He had events at Billingham, Wearside, and Bishop Auckland. Just a quick mention of events that we've got coming up. We've got the Bedfordshire Spring Masters, which takes place at Y Boston Lakes on Sunday, May the 18th. We've got another Wonder Series event on May the 25th. Anya Sukija, who we showed the photos of there. I'm going to have a round of golf with her on Sunday. We're going to go and play. We're going to play Arden Coat. Yes, so I'm going to get beaten up by a 10-year-old girl. So just to prove that I'm not a male chauvinist, I'm more than happy to get beaten up by a girl golfer. And we'll probably play off the same tee. So I'm not going to give her any shots at all. So and then the Ace Junior Golf Tour, they've got an event during May half term. And also the Nuneaton Junior Open as well, which takes place on May the 29th. So lots of competitions taking place in and around the Midlands and various counties as well. Right, so that wraps up the show this evening. Then we've been talking about girls golf. Big thank you to Hannah and Natasha for coming on, also for Aaron for joining us. But most importantly, thank you for Tesney for helping co-host the podcast. It's gone on quite late, so thank you very much for way past your bedtime. But
that's right there.
Yes, always good to have an intelligent Australian on the show. I can say that now that Aaron's not with us. But thanks very much for joining us, and we shall see you. So the next podcast we think is going to be on Thursday, June the 5th. We're not exactly certain what subject we're going to be covering with that one, but I'm sure we'll get some real special guests on the show then. So we shall see you then. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.